Welcome to my talk, Usability Testing Short and Simple. My name is Ines Weigel. I'm from Austria, as you can probably hear, not from Germany, but from Austria. And I'm very happy that you have joined this session. In the next 20 minutes, I want to give you a brief introduction into usability testing so that you can implement it in your next project. That's very slow. Okay, before we start into the testing itself, I want to give you a few information about myself. After doing my A-levels here in Vienna, I've studied business administration first in Vienna and then at the University of Wales in Swansea. And also during even then, I was very interested in IT. So I was always looking for positions where I could combine my knowledge in business and IT. And I've done that since finishing my university degree. And about 5 years ago, I started as a senior consultant at adesso, which is the German IT service provider. Currently, I mainly work as requirements engineer and also as a UX designer. And what I really like about my role as a requirements engineer is that I can translate business needs into requirements that will be understood by developers. And I enjoy being that translator between business and IT, as both areas, I like very much. During in the last few years, I realized that a lot of IT projects don't care enough about the user who has to use IT systems in the end. So I decided that I wanted to learn more about how to create systems that put the user in the middle. And that's why about 18 months ago, I started my part-time studies of user experience management at the Technikum here in Vienna. And currently I write my master thesis and hope to be finished in October. Most people believe that UX design is mainly about creating beautiful user interfaces or building prototypes, but that's just not true. It's really about understanding the user. And you can't understand the user without testing and without doing usability testing. So when I tell people that they should do usability testing, I always have to wait. The slides change very slowly. Yeah, when I tell people that I want to do usability testing or that they should do, I get a lot of statements like, yeah, we hope this will come up soon. We need a lab to test, testing takes forever, where will we find all those users? And then also we need specialists to do usability testing, and my favorite is we don't need to test, we know our users, which is just brilliant. And I guess that some of you also believe that some of these statements are true, and that's why you're here, to find out if they are or if they are not. And I want to show you that they are not. Okay. Before we go into testing, just a quick reminder what usability is and why we aren't testing the user experience. Usability, as you can see from the picture, is just a part of user experience. It is really about completing a specific task, or the ability of a specific user to complete a specific task in a specific context. User experience is wider. It is about how a person perceives and a system, what beliefs he has about the system, or which feelings, emotions, also before, during, and after the use. So user experience is a much more emotional thing, whereas usability is something very strict. And that's why we can test usability using a usability test, because we can test if a specific task can be solved by a specific user in a specific context. When we want to evaluate user experience, then we need other methods such as interviews and questionnaires. And yes, you can combine those methods in one go. So do a usability test first and then perhaps an interview afterwards to find more about the emotions of the user or the beliefs or what he thinks about the system or how he feels about the system. Now on to testing itself. How do we do a usability test? First, you have to decide what your goal is. So what do you want to find out with the test? It's really like doing research. Like perhaps if you did a graduate degree at university, you remember how research works. You have to find what your research questions are or the hypothesis that what you want to test. For example, we could ask, does the user understand the navigation of our website or can he complete a specific task? Based on that goal, we will define then the user tasks that the user has to complete. Yeah, that was one too far. Which task, which data should the user enter? When is the task complete? So you have to give the user really specific instructions what you want him to do, and then you can observe the behavior of the user to find out if the usability is good or bad. Very important, before you actually do testing, do a test run. We know communication is really difficult, so what I write down as a user task, and I find very logical and completely clear, must not be for you. So it might be that your tasks are misunderstood, it's not clear what you mean. And also you have to check if the prototype or the software really work, if there's no dead end, error messages, tasks that cannot be completed. Perhaps you have to do several iterations before you then can finally go on to testing itself. And hope this comes up soon. And during testing, I recommend to record the usability test, because that will make evaluation easier. But at the same time, what you observe during the testing is, what does the user do? Where does he click? What data does he input? Where does he look? Does he find information, or what does he do? Then also, where does he have difficulties? That's the interesting part. What's not clear to him? Which questions does he ask? You will see that the testers always ask questions, or most of the time, because they are not sure what to do, and then they ask you. We'll talk about this also a little bit later. And also very interesting, if several paths lead to the same result, then it's interesting to observe which path a user takes. It also might be that you want the user to search something on your website, but he decides to use a Google search instead of the search of your website. That would be very interesting to find out why. And that's why it's necessary to observe this kind of behavior. After you finished your testing, you can then evaluate what you found, which problems did arise and how often, how serious are they, and how difficult will it be to solve them. Sometimes serious problems are very easy to solve. For example, if your labels are not clear and the user is not sure which data to put in, or the navigation is not logical for the user, then it might be just a few clicks of development to change that, and the usability problem is solved. Could also be that you have too many fields on one screen, or the flow of perhaps the login screen is not clear, or the registration screen, and you have to redo the whole screen flow. Then solving usability problems could also take quite some time and might be difficult for development. So it's really tricky when it doesn't, the slides don't change. I have to check what my next slide is while I wait. Yeah, the next, the good thing is what we need, sorry. yeah, what do you need for usability testing? You don't need a lab. What you need is the system that you want to be tested. That can be a paper prototype. So you can already test a sketch of the system that you create, or perhaps you build something, prototype in a design thinking workshop, you can already test that. Then it could be a click dummy that you create with software like Sketch, Figma, or Adobe XD, or even PowerPoint. Yeah, you can create prototypes with PowerPoint. Or it could be the real IT system, either the test system or the production system, depending on the development stage. Then you need user tasks. As we discussed before, that's the instructions for the user that explain to the user what he or she should do during the test. Then we need the test leader. That's the person who will guide the testers through the whole process, from welcoming them till thanking them at the end, and perhaps bringing them out to the door again, so that they always have one person they can talk to and who will take care of them. Possibly you need to have minute keepers if to take notes. As you know from personal experience, it's very difficult to watch something like a talk like this and take notes at the point of time, because normally when we take notes, we look at the paper that we take notes on, and then you will miss something that's happening on the screen. So a minute keeper can then just concentrate on taking minutes. And I also recommend to have technical support close by, especially if you really work on a real IT system. In case the IT system doesn't work, there's a bug, kind of new error message, it's good to have someone close by to be able to fix that quickly. Then what else do we need? Yeah, we need tools to record both the screen and the user. In times like where we do virtual testing, like I would today, it's quite simple. You have you use a tool with like Teams or Zoom, and then you can record the user and the screen at the same point of time. It's more difficult if you do testing on site. Then you would need to record the screen. That also there's software for that, but also have a webcam, a separate webcam for the user that you can record the user. Why is the user interesting? Because it's interesting to see the facial expressions of the user during the test. Does he frown? Is he surprised? Whatever you can see is perhaps angry or insecure. You can see that from the face, especially if users don't talk or are very quiet during the test. Then it's nice to see the face afterwards, so that you can find out what they thought during the test. And then last thing that you might need is tools to broadcast the test in a different room. If several people want to watch the test, more than just really the core persons, they should sit in a different room and watch on a separate screen. Testers are really, really nervous, and it doesn't help if 10 people are sitting opposite of them and watch what they are doing. That will make them feel terribly uncomfortable, like in an exam situation. So it's better to have other people watching in a separate room. That might be the development team, your client, the product owner, management, whoever is interested in the result. Then now comes the very good news as to the number of users. As you can see from this graph or my heading, you only need 5 users to test. That is if you want to have qualitative data, so just a list of usability problems in your system. If you go for qualitative data, that is KPIs, then you would need more testers to have valid data. Obviously, if you want to know what's the average success rate, the average time of completion, then obviously with 5 users, your results will not be statistically relevant. Why 5 users? As you can see from this very famous curve of Mr. Nielsen and Landauer, up to 5, with each additional user, you get a lot of more insight into the usability problems, whereas after 5, the curve starts to flatten out, so more users won't yield more insights. So that's also the question, or the answer to it takes forever. No, it's quite easy to test 5 people. You can even do that perhaps if you're fast and experienced within a day. Then I've brought you an example for a user task that I made up for this talk. Imagine the system to be tested is the Transport of London Journey Planner, and you want to test where your goal is to find out if foreigners can plan their journeys with the journey planner. So you've created one task, you would have several tasks, but one task could be you will land at Heathrow Airport in the evening and you reckon that you will be able to catch public transport by 7:15 p.m. You want to go directly to your hotel, the Ritz, using public transport. First task or question to answer, where do you need to change? Secondly, when will you be at the hotel? And thirdly, how long does it take you to walk from the final stop to the hotel? And then the user will try to answer these questions, and while he or she does that, you can observe and see how they do it, and if they do it the way you thought they would or differently. That's always very fascinating what they come up with, things that you didn't think about. So what you really see is that I've given concrete data, because that's what you do as a user. You know what you want to do on a system. You have data in your head that you want to use to complete the task. And it's also very clear that when the task is complete, what has to be answered. So I have to be quick. Time is running out. So during the test, remember that all testers are nervous. Explain to them that you test the system, not them. It's really like an exam situation, and perhaps repeat that. Decide how you will react to questions. Either you answer questions when testers have them, or you don't answer them. You tell them things like, just behave as you would if I won't be there. But make sure that your reaction is consistent, otherwise you will influence the results. And then thirdly, that's very fascinating to observe, your behavior does influence the user. They will try to read your body language to find out if they're doing things right or wrong. And so you have to be absolutely neutral when you sit there and try not to show anything that goes on in your mind. Yeah, so about those statements we had, we don't need a lab to test. You saw testing doesn't take forever. You don't need a lot of testers. You don't need specialists. You can do that yourself. And about we know our users. We don't need to test things. Try yourself. You will be fascinated and surprised what you find out. And after you've done that, let me know on LinkedIn what you find out and what surprised me most, what surprised you most. That would interest me very much. Okay. That's it from my usability testing talk. Good. Well, then it's really, if something happens, then I would stay there just in case to handle any problem. So I wouldn't leave the test alone just in case something happens. So I would stay in the room. So thanks for watching. Have a great time at the conference. So many interesting talks there, and perhaps we see each other soon or talk to each other on LinkedIn. Bye.